Hello there, we proudly welcome to this quick Microsoft Access database tutorial brought to you by DataText. My name is Akosmila. In today's video, I'm going to share with you how to create a very simple profit and loss statement account in Microsoft Access. A sample of this particular project right in this simple basic accounting software. You can see that I have a form that I use to track expenses. Besides, I also have another form I use to track my incomes. So this is a business, my incomes, and then my expenditure. Now there will be the need for you over a particular period of time to generate. So for instance, I want to generate my profit and loss account. I want to see the income, that's my income status, and my against the expenditure, then the difference to give me balance. So how much within a particular period have I spent and how much have I earned? So from this date up to this date, now let's say for instance I want to change the date to today, and I click generate report. So within a specified date range that we just typed in there, you can see these are the revenues, admission, days, interest, inventories, and these are the expenses. So expenses amounted to 20,000 whilst the revenue amounted to 5,151. Now the subtraction now gives us the net can be in this, so meaning that we run at a loss within this particular date frame in here. So now you can to export or to print. So I'm going to show you how to do this particular project right in Microsoft Access. Even if you're a beginner, it doesn't require too much skill before you need to be able to do this particular project. The little skill that you have in Microsoft Access, let us move on and then delve deeply into the tutorial. So I will exit this database. This is a basic accounting. So now you just come to your desktop, you right click, you go to new Microsoft Access. So let's type in, let's make it profit and loss. So let's say profit and loss. Okay, so profit and loss, that's the database. Okay, so here we click enabled. Now for us to make this tutorial very brief, what I will do is that I will open the basic accounting and have the income and expenditure table imported. Okay, so here I will go to expenditure, I will go to revenues, revenue extended, which is a query, then expenditure extended. So you select, then you hit copy, or you right click and you just select copy. Now come to your new profit and loss database, click in the control pane, the pane here, or the object pane, control V to paste as usual. Now you choose to paste with the structure and data. Okay, so now we have our expenditure table, our revenue table. So because we just copied this table elsewhere into this our system, let me show you the various data types. So you have to make sure that if you want to create it yourself, because I already have it, that's why I don't really want to make this video very long. So expense ID, make sure you have it, description, expense amount, then your dates, the time, accountant. So here I'll choose to ignore the accountant. Then file, this one will be a receipt of your inventory, your expenditure or your revenue. So I'll close this one. Now we'll go to design view over here to take note of the data types. So you have to make sure that date is very key in this particular project. Date is very key. In fact, it is a requisite. If you don't have the date, you wouldn't be able to have the project's aim realized successfully. So let me, as usual, delete this accountant. I don't want to make it so complex. Okay. So now we are fastly moving. So we have some revenues and then some expenditure also in here. Now we also have expenditure extended, which is also a query that was built on the expenditure report, expenditure table. Then revenue extended, which is also a query that was built on the revenue table. Okay. So now the very next thing that you will have to do is to create other two queries that are going to take care of the sums of the revenues against the revenue categories and then expenditure. So we go to create. So we go to query design. First we do for expenditure, double click. Now in this query, for now you just add your description, then your expense amount. So when you run this query, you will see that it has given you various descriptions, or let's say categories of expenses, and then also amount. So Now what we are going to do is I go to design view. We are going to use the group by feature in Microsoft Access. So here we click total on the ribbon, you come to show height, you click total. So we are going to find the sum of expenses for each category. So here, description, the total must be grouped by, you come to expenses, you click, you select, supposed to be, then aggregate function that we're going to use is sum. Okay, so now for each category we have the sum over here. So you click here, then you say totals expenses. Okay, so now for instance, if I add a revenue for Zoom Lion, expenditure for Zoom Lion, now let's say I come in here, Zoom Lion, you can see that over here there's 4,000. So now if I come in here, let's say I'm adding 1,000. Let me choose the date to be today. I'll refresh. Now as soon as I come in here and I refresh, you can see now Zoom Lion is 5,000. So this is how it works. So now move on to do the same thing for the revenue. So we create another query design revenues. Now quickly you add your description and your amount. Now you click total. Here you choose to sum, you save, so you say totals revenue. Okay, here to you run. So now you can see that we have the various revenue categories and the sum of their amount as well. Okay. Okay, so now we have our total revenue. Later on we'll be adding dates to this particular these two queries. So for now, the next step is to create what we call reports for these two queries that you just built. So the first report I will build for the total expenses query. So I will have it opened, create. Now you select report wizard. You add all the fields in here. Now let's choose to group by description. Now make sure tabular is selected. You go to new total expenses. So let's preview the report to see how it looks. Okay, so now we have this report in here. So let's go to the design view and say, so we are going to say expenditure expenses. So we bring it. We are not going to do too much of the design in here. So now the next thing is I remove this, then we select everything in here. We change the color to black. Now let me bold this shape fill. Let me select blue. Sorry, let's select black for now. Right click. Now, okay. Also, alternate full color. I will choose none. So here I will say amount. So this report gives us for each description or category the amount that we spent. Okay, so let me close the gap a bit. Okay, now we'll view it once more. Okay, so now it is looking great. Now we are going to we're going to set the outline for the amount fields, or we can choose to ignore it. So let me remove the outline for these two fields. So I'll go in here. Okay, so now it is looking quite catchy. So now the next thing we need to do is to find the sum of the amounts in here. So you go to design view, you click here, you go to design totals, you choose sum. Okay, so here you add a label, and now this label you call it, you type in gram sum, or it can be any other inscription that you deem so viable. So now I'll select it. I'll go to shape fill, I'll select transparent. Now I'll enlarge this one a bit and I'll bold it. Okay. Okay. So now we have this here. Now when you view, we have the total amount here. So the next thing is you select, you come to 8 formats, you change it to currency, and now you go to other, the name for this particular field, you change it to total exp, or it can be any other name because we later on we shall get to it and have it referenced in our expressions. Okay, so now that we've managed to get the expenses, we move on to do the same thing for the revenue. So we close it. Now total revenue, create. You go to report wizard, you select everything. Now you move to next. So let me sum by the description. Sorry, sort tabular is okay. Now let's modify quickly. So we go, okay, so here we say revenues. So here we say revenues. So as usual, let me fill it with black color. Then here we choose, okay. Now the outline, we set it to transparent. Now let's sum. So we click in here, we choose sum. Okay, so we click here. Now we add a label here to call it run sum. So let's select all of them. We change the color to black as usual. Let's set the font size to 14. Alright, so now I can choose to close this gap, and I can choose to minimize this size a bit, and then okay, now we are going gradually. Okay, so now we have this one also over here. So now because we have the alternating colors here, let's go to the expenses and also set the alternating colors. So alternating colors, you choose this one. You can choose to close it a bit. Now okay, so now we have reports for total revenue and total expenses. So here for the revenue to design view, let's make it a currency format. We change it to currency, and now the name, we change it to total rev. Okay, total rev. So now we are halfway through this particular project. So the very next thing that we'll do, we close everything. Now we create a table. So table design is a very simple table, ID auto number. Now here you say from is dates, then to dates. Control S to save. Now you say dates. You can I'll give it the name date range, so that's the primary key. Okay, so now we have this one over here. So what we'll do is that now we go to create. You're going to create a form for this. So form wizard, we select everything. In fact, the ID is not necessary. We go to next. Now we choose columnar date range. Let's modify the form a bit. Okay, so now I'll say specify dates range for accounts. Okay, so I'll give this particular tape to the user so that he or she will know what has to be done before a proceed can be made. Okay, so now we're choosing here. Let's try to modify the design a bit. Okay, select this. Now you can click here, pop up. Let's make it yes. So let's get rid of the record selector. So format, navigation, record selector, no, record select. So navigation to is set to no. Now here, once you view it, it is a bit okay. The very next thing we will do, so let me bold this and bring it down a bit. So I'll add a rectangle here. Okay, now this rectangle, I will choose a special effect to be sunk. Now the very last thing is for us to add a button. So a button which when the user clicks generates a report. So we say generate account or generate statement. I think that one is rather desirable. So generate statements. Generate statements. Let's push it here. Now we can do a little improvement to this design. So quick shape, we select this, quick star. I will choose this. Okay. So now let me select the outline to white instead. So now the very next thing that you will do is that you go to your total expenses query, design view. Now you add dates, but the dates, each checkbox for show, you deselect it so that it won't show. So if I run it, although date has been added, it is not going to show. Okay, do not worry that the data has become clumsy. The data has become clumsy. We are going to group it again. And here, your criteria, we are going to say build. You type in here between is an SQL statement. So whereby the date is between. Now you go to profits, all your forms, date range. So where the date is between the two field and where the date is from, we've got something wrong in here. So from where the date is between the from field, and then you double click to. So now let's copy this, the same thing that we are going to put in the total revenue. We're going to add to the total revenue query. So now what we are saying is that once the query runs, whichever dates that will be entered in this particular form, the system should give us the account between those two dates range or those two dates. So it's okay. Now here, group by, you choose where. Okay. So when the user runs the query, it should show the query or the date, should display the data records where the date is between whatever that the system finds or the software finds in the date range form. So now that we have it copied, you go to total revenue, design view, you add dates, you uncheck this, now you paste the where statement here, make sure you have this one changed to where. Okay, now you are done. Now the last thing you need to do is that you open either of them, because now we are going to, so I will add a little line here. I'll add a little line here, and the color will be set to black. Okay, now what I will do is that this one is the revenue, so you're going to add the expenses to it. Okay, so you drag and drop the expense report also in there. Okay, you save it. Okay, so now the very last thing you will need to do, you select this outline, you change it to transparent. Now you come in here, you add another text box which will give you your balance. So you say balance, or you can say, let's make it net income, or nets. Simply put net. Then we go, here we go, we add it here. So this text box should give us the difference between our expenditure and our income. So here you click in here, you go to data. Okay, now you select total revenue. So you open the total revenue report. Now here, total, so this one is total expenses. Let's open total revenue first. So the total revenue, which is a field that contains the sum of the revenue. So you double click. So total revenue minus, now you go to the profit and loss, you go to reports. Now you go to all reports, total expenses. So expenses here to minus total expenses. So total revenue minus the reports, total expenses. Now you hit OK. So alright. So now the very next thing I will do is to copy and paste this. I will change. Then bring this one here. In fact, we can make this one. Okay, so we can make this one the title, which is profit and loss account. So profit and loss account. Okay, so now that we have it neatly set in here, you close it. Now you open your dates range, and the generate statement, you add a simple macro to it. Open reports macro. So here you say macro builder. Open reports, reports name. So we added it to the total expenses. So we say total. Let's close it. Go back and set some things right. Sorry, we have exited everything which is wrong. Okay, so we added everything we added expenses. So now the report that has your revenue and expenses is your total revenue. So let us neatly rename it. So now we rename it and we say profit loss. So we say profit loss. So now here we can confidently open our date range form, generate statements, macro builder. You will add your macro, open reports, profit loss. Okay, now we are almost done. So now let us test the progress of everything that we've done. So you open date range. Now from let's say from first 2020 up to which date I want the accounts from these dates up to today's dates. Okay, Control S to save everything. I hit generate report. Okay, so now you can see that within the specified dates range, we had been given the sum of, we have been given the account all right, but then the net is what is really not showing well. So let's go to design view and fix it. And then also there is no need having the scroll bar, the horizontal scroll bar for the expenses report. So we set it to only vertical. Okay, now here in the net, let's fix the error. So you come in here, remove this S against the reports, save it, and now let us begin. So we want the date we want the report from these dates, the account from these dates up to this particular date. Now we hit it, and here we are. You can see that successfully we've been able to come to the realization of this particular project. Now we are successful. So now it's telling us that we have grant revenue 5,151 and expenses being this. So now the deduction giving us 15,000. So now let's set. The next thing you have to do is to set the formats. So formats, you choose currency. So now one thing is you can bold it, and now you set conditional formatting for it. So you go to new rule. So if field value is greater than 0, if it's greater than 0, it means that we made profits. That one, the background must be green and the color must be white. We bold it. Otherwise, if it is less than 0, If it is less than 0, we set the background color to red, meaning that we run at a loss. Okay, so now double click, make sure auto center is set it to yes, pop-up is set it to yes. So now we are done. We are almost done with everything. So date range, your report, and now neatly you have your profit and loss account, which is all that we really want to accomplish in this particular tutorial. If you have really loved it, kindly do not hesitate to hit the subscribe button, like this particular video, share, and then also stay tuned for updates on subsequent uploads. Thank you very much. See you in the next video. Bye.